Welcome back. Foreign policy news unfolding at a fast rate today. John Kerry, as you see there, is speaking right now in Rome. We are going to be dipping in and out of those comments as newsworthy things come out of it. He may well be following up on the president's comments that we just got out of covering on Ukraine, promising tougher sanctions and more economic aid. We will keep you posted. But first, back here at home, developing news right now, here today. We thought the big story today at CPAC, remember that's the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, would be Chris Christie taking center stage. And while that is indeed a big deal, and we'll be all over it in just a few seconds, things started out with another unexpected bang. No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. That's Senator Mitch McConnell, the minority leader of the United States Senate, brandishing a gun on the CPAC stage. He handed it off to Senator Tom Coburn, a staunch defender of the right to bear arms. The other big headline so far is Chris Christie, the New Jersey governor who was snubbed last year at this conference, but today had a star speaking spot. The governor, who's been plagued by the Bridgegate scandal, just wrapped up his address last hour. But were his words enough to cast off that shadow from Bridgegate and inspire a re-embrace from the right? Take a listen.
Leadership is about getting in and getting something done and making government work. Leadership is not about standing on the sidelines and spitballing. And that's all we see all across Washington, D.C., but it's not what we see in the states.
Along with Mitch McConnell and Christie, this year's bunch includes a slew of 2016 hopefuls, young guns, some controversial conservatives, and a few Tea Party politicos.
I'm going to suggest a radical agenda to you. Hope and change.
Hope and change. Hope and change. Wondering what else to watch for? Here is our viewing guide here at RFD. Will the GOP's divide be on display? Listen to this.
21
big, massive civil war. It's Tea Party versus establishment, libertarians versus social conservatives. There's infighting, conflict, backbiting, discord. Look, I'm Irish. That's my idea of a family reunion.
Well, I know how that feels. Another question worth watching for, which Republicans are getting rebuffed by their party mates this year? Speaker John Boehner didn't even get a chance to RSVP. And who finally will win the coveted CPAC straw poll? The reason we're all tuning in today, will it be a Paul, for instance? Again, you know, Rand, Ron, Rue. To dig deeper into the hits, runs, and errors is Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. Sean, thank you so much for joining us here today.
You bet.
So we've got to start with Mitch McConnell and the gun. His Democratic opponent in Kentucky just responded with this tweet, quote, "Someone should tell Team Mitch that's not the way to hold a gun. Kentucky women do it better." One would think when he walked on stage with that prop that he was trying to make a statement about the Second Amendment, but then his remarks didn't reflect that at all. What statement was he making there?
It wasn't making a statement. He wasn't making anything. It was an award. He was presented an award by the National Rifle Association to Senator Coburn for a lifelong achievement award for his service to both the Senate, to the country, and to the Second Amendment. That's it. I appreciate the fact that everyone's trying to make this more than it is, but he was given an award. That's it.
So it was relevant because the topic of the award was that track record that Coburn, of course, has on the Second Amendment.
Well, and most Republicans have. We're proud supporters of the Second Amendment. So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the fact that folks on the left are trying to make something of this. But we as Republicans and as conservatives believe strongly in the Second Amendment and are proud of it.
All right. Well, let's turn to Christie. A new poll showed that the recent scandal has, in fact, hurt his reputation with other Republicans. The Washington Post ABC News poll that I'm referring to found 3 in 10 wouldn't vote for him if he ran for president at this point. How do you think his message today was received in that community?
Well, look, at the RNC, we're not here to pick, choose, or handicap the race. But what I will say, the irony of this is that when you look at Chris Christie's approval rating in New Jersey, I'm sure, yes, it's probably taken a hit, anyone would, if they've been piled on by the media to the extent that he has. But his approval rating in New Jersey, despite getting hit daily from the media, is still above most Democratic governors in this country. So the irony is that for all of the hay that the Dems want to make about Chris Christie's approval rating, he still trumps most of their guys. And that's because it's not just Chris Christie, but governors like Scott Walker and John Kasich in Ohio and Rick Scott in Florida are actually getting things done, and their constituents look at them as problem solvers and people that get it done. And that's what's happening, generally speaking, on the Republican side. We're the ones coming out there with solutions for America's problems, trying to move the ball forward. And voters generally, I think, respond to that.
I want to ask about what seemed to me to be a bit of split messaging here. We heard Congressman Paul say a few minutes ago that there is no GOP divide, but here was Senator Ted Cruz this morning. Take a listen to him.
All of us remember President Dole and President McCain and President Romney. Now, look, those are good men. They're decent men. But when you don't stand and draw a clear distinction, when you don't stand for principle, Democrats celebrate.
All right, very, very quickly, because we've got breaking news on the foreign policy side again, but I did want to hear from you. How do you put forward a show of unity when speakers do emphasize a divide so often?
Well, I think you saw Congressman Paul Ryan talk about the fact that we need to unite and come together. Governor Christie talked about that. Senator Rubio talked about that. I think what we've got to do is we agree on a central set of principles. We all agree that all of these candidates would be better than Hillary Clinton. And frankly, Ronan, just to have a little fun with you, if Hillary Clinton had a resume map like you've got, I think these days it would say Benghazi on one side of her head and failed reset Russia policy on the other. So all of our guys are out there talking about the future. I think the Democrats would like to focus on our guys, but they have major, major problems of their own headed into 2016. And frankly, 2014, in terms of all their 2014 vulnerable senators that are having to defend these policies.
All right, I'd be interested to see the RNC word cloud myself. Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the RNC. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll bring you back on. We'll talk about it more.